Hello, friends. This is Joe Lynch from the Logistics of Logistics. But today I am in Las Vegas at the Trimble Insight Conference. And I am here with my friend, Anthony Sutardja, and we're talking about booking more loads using AI. Anthony, please introduce yourself and your company.
My name is Anthony Sutardja, CEO of Parade, and we have an AI-enabled capacity platform for freight brokers to book more loads using our tools. And so what that really means is it helps them find trucks faster, helps them automate the booking process, help them use data to better price as well. And under the covers of all that is a lot of pricing technologies. How do you manage private and public carrier networks? All in all, everything that a broker needs to manage their capacity.
And I know there's 30,000 brokers last year. There's 27,000 brokers this year. It's been a rough market, and companies are looking for ways to do just exactly this, book more loads. And you can keep pushing your people, or you can start leveraging technology like you guys are doing.
Exactly. And the way we think about it is, how do we empower people at these firms to really hone in on a lot of the strategic efforts needed to, hey, I've got a shipper here that needs a recurring set of lanes to be filled. How do we help our brokers pair up the right set of carriers to tee up into that lane? So a lot of what we've done historically is helping our customers to profile that carrier, understand the lanes, and really build a robust private carrier network so that they're able to best serve their shippers. But I think the question over the last, as you posed, the last more than 6 months, 12 plus months,
Forever,
is margins are down, volumes are down, but people have to do more to really continue to grow their businesses. And so you can look at technology as a great amplifier of their own people to do more with those folks.
Yep. So we are at Trimble Insight Conference in Las Vegas, and you have some exciting news regarding this event. So talk about why you're here this week.
Very excited to have announced our first of its kind integration with the Trimble Transportation Cloud. And that essentially enables our customers to tap into a real-time integration with the TMW Suite TMS. Why this is important is that we need real-time load information, real-time carrier data, as well as the ability to automate the booking process to drive towards, okay, we're going to help these people do more with less. We've got to be able to help tap into the existing systems that they're doing business in and help drive automation of that groundwork using their existing systems. And so super excited to be integrated with the Trimble ecosystem.
Yep. And I got here yesterday and I wandered around and talked to people from Trimble, and then also all of their partners, which is it's hundreds of companies here, and a lot of their competitors are here, and sometimes the exact same people. And it seems the technology requires us to partner up, and Trimble is the center, or maybe the foundation of that ecosystem. And I'm blown away. I think I said this to you while we were at your booth, that you always hear people talk about visibility. This here at this conference is where the visibility comes from. It comes from companies like Trimble who are connected to the trucks. And there's dozens of companies out there that are doing, basically creating that Internet of Things technology that we're able to use at all the brokerages that we serve.
Yeah, no, and I think that connectivity down to where the trucks are, where the carriers are doing business, a lot of our partners also here are around that carrier ecosystem as well, serving technologies directly to the carriers. And it's about, for our broker customers, how do you help them get connected to these folks that are looking for available shipments to keep those trucks loaded, as it's not just connected in terms of the systems, it's these many different parties across the truckers out there, the brokers, both trying to move more volumes, and ultimately a more connected ecosystem helps drive that.
Yep. I've learned a lot here. One of the things I learned, I'm just going back to my notes. I talked to some Trimble people earlier today, and they've got I call it the tech stack for the truck. And it's the mobility, which is some of the ELD stuff, the enterprise, which is the TMS and the maintenance system, but also it's the maps, which is navigating, navigation, routing, and PC Miler, which is the standard that everyone uses in the trucking business, and then Transporeon, which is their ecosystem. That's more shipper focused. And I know they talk quite a bit about this cloud that you just mentioned. And please explain in layman's terms, the best you can, how this cloud works to connect this ecosystem that we're talking about.
We play a small part in this cloud where we are a third party that has developed a really robust solution for freight brokers just to manage capacity. Lots of other things that the broker has to go deal with in terms of, back office and visibility execution, but around just finding a truck and putting it onto a load, we've spent the last many years focused on building these technologies, helping our customers now automate on the order of 50% of their freight volumes and continue to lead there. And so wanting to bring those technologies towards all TMW customers, and the Trimble Cloud enables us to do that. And enables us to do that very quickly and helps scale a standard integration so that we're able to really drive impact much faster. Whereas before, a lot of our customers on the Trimble sets of solutions would have to build these integrations with us. And so this really is a new change for us in enabling new technologies to be deployed across the TMW set of customers.
So what does this partnership with Trimble do for Parade? What's the advantage?
We are able to deliver this impact so much faster, where we see this, and we'll talk about this in a second on what we're doing for the brokers more specifically in how many more loads per day can they do per person, leveraging automation, leveraging AI, and this standard integration makes it so that we can scale and deliver that impact much faster.
Yep. And the TMW, that is the Trimble Transportation Management System. Let's get on to a little more about Parade. I interviewed you a few years ago, and it seems like everything's, I shouldn't say changed radically. It's just an evolution. And it's partially because we have this AI. And you said something to me when we were out at your booth earlier. You said, if we aren't connected, we can't use the AI the way we want to. So please elaborate on the importance of this connection.
Yeah. Even before the connection, we are in just, I believe, the most transformational technology shift of my lifetime, perhaps collectively all of our lifetimes. As I'm sure you might have used one of these AI assistants out there.
Yep.
And it's really changed the way we're thinking about doing work. I think even at the start of the keynote, the quote that was posed was, hey, change. Some people are scared of change, and for those folks, it might become irrelevant. And I think I take a very techno-optimist view where change is being embraced by our team as well. And I think that's really helping pave the way for the future of work. And internally, we use these tools to build tools faster than ever. And so we're now doing the same for our freight broker customers. And what is it that they're exactly doing? Before, AI was really focused on helping, you mentioned earlier, data is super dirty, and it's hard to even analyze the carrier's lane preferences because it is everyone's not entering the data or they're entering it wrong. And so we spend a lot of our AI and ML technologies focused on cleaning up the carrier data, making sure that it is profilable. There is a standard format so that you can go do like a Google search against your lane preferences. And that's to understand what carriers are doing. We've now shifted into a different mode where AI is not only great for cleaning up data, you can now perform work, where the work to be done here is in communicating for a lot of our customers back and forth between the carrier. And I firmly believe that the relationship is key to having a great business relationship between the broker and carrier. How many lanes can you run for us? How much volume? Oh, maybe the truck is down, and so we'll make sure we pick this back up in 2 weeks.
Right.
But a lot of it is transactional as well. It's the first time a broker is ever working with a trucking company. They get an email, they get a phone call, and the dispatcher at the trucking company is saying something like, hey, I see the load in Dallas. It's posted. It's available. Is it still available? Posted on lid board. Of course it's still available, but there begins a conversation just to get more of the details. Is this load really real? What am I hauling? Can I make up the pickup appointment times, as the trucker doesn't want to be wasting their time too. They want to make sure they're optimizing their schedules as well. And so what ends up happening is there's this back and forth conversation, and the broker at the same time, right now there's a lot of fraud in the industry. And so they've got checks and balances that they've got to go through on, hey, here's the script I've got to go. I got to go log into my carrier compliance system, ask the carrier, hey, before we move on, what's your, all right, type in the MC number, wait for it to load. All right, passes. Now we can go talk about the load information, get into the weeds of the details there. And then if it works out with the carrier, times are good, compliance is good. Now there's negotiating. Oh, can you do it for $900? Nah, $850. And then this is, I'd still say quite a bit of the transactional conversations. We're not at that strategic carrier conversations. And all of that, with AI, we've actually been able to accelerate those conversations for the brokers and have those conversations on behalf of them and really transform a new mode of working. And so to your question, what does a connected system have to do with AI? The AIs now are more like agents. They're performing work. They need to be able to tap into these systems. So if I am going to go to the carrier compliance system, I need an API to check if this MC and this email is going to be a valid carrier for me to work with. Oh, is the load still available? I need an API into the Trimble TMS to just check that this load is actually still available. And so we're moving into a world where more and more of work is performed by these agents that are powered by AI, and they need digital mechanisms to do that. We like to think of it as like a digital twin of what the analog process was.
So this is actually the conversation between the broker and the carrier. And you showed me a little sample earlier today. From their perspective, it doesn't look any different than if it was an actual human typing it back and forth. And I guess to some extent, who cares, right? As long as as soon as we all begin to trust these agents, I don't care if I'm talking to an agent or talking to a person, but that's enabling your customers to book significantly more loads.
Yeah, everyone's at a different benchmark on loads per day per person, but this is a very headcount driven business in brokerage. If you're just doing spot market freight, typically before parade, people are doing like 8 to 10 loads per day per person. Before this AI, with the right optimizations and process and workflow, because that's a lot of it too, and just being able to reload carriers, automate that portion with rules-based automation, that got our customers up to 20, 25 loads per day per person.
That's significant.
We didn't even believe it when we started running these pilots on the AI, where we had one customer piloting for us throughout January into March. That person running with that, we call it co-driver, is this AI. We got them running at 50 loads per day per person. And so there's been a step function change in bandwidth that people can tackle on as we automate more of these mundane tasks on just getting that transactional information out of the way. And I think we're just getting started. I think it's...
So it went from 10 and then I'll call Parade 1.0, got them to 20 a day, and now you're up to 50. And you guys are also in the process normalizing the data, cleaning it up so it's actual better data in that transaction.
Yeah, what we discovered is we've been focused on the work part of it, building the agents, making sure that we can do more loads per day per person. A byproduct of that is a lot of the broker managers are asking their team members to enter the quote that the carrier gave you, even if you didn't book them, into the TMS. And then, for those in the audience that run a brokerage, how many people actually do that? Adoption is usually the biggest factor there, where people just aren't entering the data in. And by having these conversations automatically, not only are we able to have the conversation, but now we've stored the data for them. We can get real pricing data that carriers are saying that they want to do freight for, and put that back into the TMS, put that back in for use, so that the team is, even if we didn't use the stat is, it's about 1 in 10 quotes from a carrier for us generally get to a usable booking. So 10 carriers out there gave a price, only one of them is actually going to actually do it. The 9 other data points is actually super interesting to
Right.
keep tabs on. So that's been a surprise to us, as we didn't realize this was such valuable information to our customers. But now they have more real time data about the capacity markets, the real pricing, and we posed a question internally, and this data could be even better than even just forecasting methodologies, where people are trying to use AI to price based off historical data and look at the future rates. What's better than that? It's just asking the carrier in real time, what rates would you do this for? And so we think that it's opened up a whole new set of possibilities as we not only automated work, but also have accelerated data collection for our customers.
Yeah, it occurs to me as a human, we have limitations. And if I'm a logistics and supply chain guy, I would say I want key performance indicators. I want something that measures the cost, something measures on-time performance, maybe damage, billing accuracy, whatever I want to measure, maybe 5 things. And I want those 5 things to inform. If those 5 things are right, everything else is right. I don't want 30 columns or 30 fields because I can't process it. And it occurs to me that a lot of us have bent logistics and supply chain around our limitations. AI doesn't have that. So I might say, I don't care about those last 25 columns. AI is, oh, wait, maybe there's something in here.
Yeah.
And from my limited reading about AI, it seems as if a lot of times it's coming up with counterintuitive ideas and insights that we would never have. And it's because they are able to use that last 25 fields of information that we would nothing. I can't process. Since it's an Excel spreadsheet, if I give you an Excel spreadsheet and say, Anthony, go through this, you're like, yeah, it's 800 lines and 40 columns. I'm not interested, right? Just tell me what it says.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it opens up a lot of new possibilities of just you didn't even imagine them before.
Yep. Yeah. And so it also occurs to me that there's used to be 30,000 brokers last year. Now we have down to 27,000 brokers. The ones that went out of business, they weren't going out of business because things were good. They were going out of business because they weren't able to be competitive for whatever reason. If all of a sudden they're booking 5 times more load per person, does that change anything?
Well, yeah. And what are those different segments of brokerages? You got your top 100, and
Yep.
they own, I don't know the percentage
chunk.
points, a really big chunk of the market. Then there's your top 2,000. They also own a big chunk. And then there's that long tail out there, which
Yep.
is generally large asset-based carriers or mid-sized fleets that happen to have a spin-off operation to keep things going. Now, we're actually at one insight of just being here at the conference, a lot of carriers here, and a lot of them are interested in seeing how could I grow the brokerage business, as the unit economics are quite good as well in comparison right now. And so I think this does change what does it mean to have to spin up a brokerage operations. Before, if you're doing resource planning, you're thinking it's 5 to 10 loads per day per person. Is this even worth it? Can I even put a body to this? Some gal just with her right hand over here just booking freight on the brokerage side. And I think the technology is, already there. I think it's actually going to get even more accelerated in the coming quarters.
It also occurs to me every time I talk to someone about AI, I tend to say the same things, but I'll say this is, if they like it the first week or the first month they're working with you guys, they're going to love it in a year, because AI is not getting worse. It's getting better. We all have continuous improvement goals, but we are, as humans, we slide back on those. AI, unless you feed it the wrong data, it's just getting better and better. And I'm assuming it feeds itself the data, right?
Yeah. And so I think there's a lot of companies came out with proof of concepts of these AIs, including ourselves, a year ago. It felt magical because it was 90% there, but that last 10% was actually quite difficult to wrap our heads around. And so we spent the greater part of the last 2 quarters perfecting our technologies in information retrieval, in how it sounds, and how it talks broker lingo as well, and how it's reading broker lingo, as well as trucking companies. They're on the road. They're also potentially writing back in Spanish as well. And so we had to cover for the full gamut there, but now it's, I think, quite robust. And so I think where things go is not only making sure that it maintains its accuracy, but also what are the additional workflows and questions that you can continue to push
Right.
on what the agent's able to do. For example, maybe you're now helping coordinate the pickup information and trailer information exchange that's needed for after you got it booked. There's all these other operational details to hash out. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think change in the AI space for freight is more and more functions being able to do more of it with the assistance of the AI.
Yep. There's, it's not an old saying, it's a relatively new saying, but we always say it is, you won't be replaced by AI, you'll be replaced by somebody using AI. And I know how competitive brokerage is, but I also know just from my talking to a lot of different people, how many companies are popping up and they say, oh, we're based in Mexico City and New York. And a lot of their headcount is in Mexico, Colombia, lower cost countries. And so they're bringing a lower cost model to the market. And it occurs to me like either that's probably a good investment, but it seems to me you're going to have to invest in technology to make it in this business.
I think technology is one lever there. Labor, cost of labor is another lever there. I think as more and more of the customers that we talk to and that we have are looking to differentiate their services as well. And I think that requires strategic relationship building, getting deeper into a specific domain areas. For example, food and bev, and really understanding the intricacies there on network planning for them. And then brokerage is the side hustle there in one of our customers' specific business. And so I think there's different ways to map out that problem and helping improve the unit economics of freight brokerage. I think that leveraging technology enables so that you got great people already. How do we help them really drive more strategic conversations?
Yep. So I've interviewed you in the past and we've seen this evolution. And I know last time, and I'll put a link to that episode in the show notes. And I also interviewed Lindsay. I'll put a link to that episode also. And you still call yourself a capacity management company. What is it? What is that?
All in all, when we first entered this industry and got our start, it was realizing that the broker has a challenging time gathering data about capacity of their own networks. And so our first feature out there was actually call it like a really dumb LLM, where it was our ability to read
large language model.
Large language models. It was not a large language model. It was just a natural language processing tool to really read these emails that every single brokers were getting. They were getting these truck lists and people weren't able to communicate them through any other mechanism. And so they would just blast them out to all these brokers saying, I got 10 available trucks in North Carolina, another dozen or so in Tampa, Florida. Please find me a backhaul. And so we wrote these technologies to scrape it and scrub it, essentially, store that data. And that helped our customers get an initial footprint of, hey, where are their trucks and where can I help get them loaded? And where can I help serve my customers and potentially bring them more capacity options? And so we started from that initial feature, but where else do the brokers get capacity? They get it from the load boards. And so we integrated with every single major load board known to really mankind, I think, that out there. Also, there's a lot of new carrier systems out there, a lot of carrier TMSs, new virtual carriers that emerged over the last 5 years, plugged into alternative ways to manage capacity. And then there's a set of tools to then really automate the recurring relationships to be built with specific carriers that they want to work with. Every single broker, you and I talked earlier, and they say they work with 18,000 carriers. Like the true network footprint is probably more like 1,000, sometimes even smaller. And for the broker, it is a goal for them to drive more reuse. It's better service, it's more consistency. The challenge is how do you actually do that without having to manually enter the data in and getting your reps to do that and have these combos. And so I think tying it all together, it's every single piece of the puzzle here helps build a capacity management platform so that the broker understands their carrier network, can
Right.
automate a lot of the interactions, can automate the data entry
Yep.
to ultimately do more loads per day per person.
Yeah, it's very common to hear somebody say, "Oh, we have 35,000 carriers in our network," and I always ask, "How many checks did you write last month?" And it's always like 300. And so the goal, though, is to do a lot of reuse, and they don't have the ability to manage that with our own headspace. So I think their objective is good. It's just the ability to execute isn't. And I can tell you my own experience. Remember running a little 3PL and a carrier that was local. We loved these guys. They were good guys. We had similar cultures. And I remember they came to visit and they said, let's do more work together. And then we talked about the lanes. We did. And then at the end of the week, I asked one of my guys, I said, how many loads do we do with them? He goes, none. I was like, what? I thought we just had this meeting. And he laid out why they mostly didn't want what we had. And other times it was like they're much higher than price. And I remember thinking, that's one carrier that's down the street that we're trying to integrate. And I couldn't get one lane in. And it's not within human capacity to say, I am going to manage hundreds of relationships with hundreds of carriers. Yet we know we get better performance if I can continue to use the same carriers for certain lanes, assuming they're doing a good job.
Right. And I think the challenge there is network of the broker's customers is constantly shifting. The bids that they want are constantly shifting as well. The carriers are moving too. And so to be able to update that constantly, month over month, it just takes too much time. And so I think this is where our technologies have really shined in helping our customers build that network.
Yeah, I'm not just being nice. I think it's significant that Trimble asked to partner with you because I mean, there's some sense every partner out there would love to. All the companies out here would love to partner with Trimble, but you're the first one in this capacity management space.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity as we've already got many mutual customers together, helping them automate more and more, but then also helping them build their private carrier networks as well. And so we're looking forward to how we can continue to bring this impact of our technologies to the whole ecosystem.
All right, let's rev this bad boy up, Anthony. Talking to my friend Anthony Sutardja, we're talking about booking more loads using AI. And we're at the Trimble Insight Conference, which has been fantastic, eye-opening. I highly recommend you get to this conference. And you guys are you're the new partner in capacity management. And we talked about how to book those more loads using AI. So if you're a broker and you're listening, I'll put a link to Anthony's LinkedIn, a link to the website, and any other links him and his marketing team give me. But we talked a little bit about the evolution of your business. And it's really, as AI became more of a tool, you guys took advantage. And I don't think this is the first or the last I'm going to hear a company evolve because AI allowed it to do much greater things with capacity that only AI has at this 1 minute.
Yeah, no, the pace of change is incredible right now. We came out of beta of that conversation agent that I was talking about just a quarter ago. We've already automated 1 million conversations. We'll do the next 10 million, then it'll be the next 100 million. And the pace of change is just quite incredible right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Again, I'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile, a link to your website, any other links you and your marketing team give me. And I appreciate you taking the time, Anthony. It's always nice to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. And thank all of you for listening to my podcast. Your support is very much appreciated. Until next time, onward and upward. You have been listening to the Logistics of Logistics podcast, where we engage with leaders in the logistics and supply chain community. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave us a nice review on Apple or Spotify or wherever else you listen. Also, please check out our videos on YouTube and connect with us on LinkedIn. We're very big on LinkedIn. And you can also reach us on the logisticsoflogistics.com, our website.